I've heard it said that 90% of the elk are killed by 10% of the hunters. So if 90% of the elk are killed by 10% of the hunters, what does that tell us? Well, the first thing it tells me is I want to be doing what those 10% are doing and not what the 90% are doing. Welcome back to Western Hunter 101. If you're new here, everything that we do is geared towards helping the new and aspiring Western hunter that is overwhelmed and doesn't really know where to start. We're here to give you a clear path and share with you the opportunity to join an awesome group of guys that have all been right where you are and that genuinely want to help you get better and learn and are excited to see your success. So let's jump in. All right, guys. So I'm going to put together a new series, and we're going to call this series Stacking the Elk Hunting Odds in Your Favor. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down through a list of different things that you can do to actually move the needle when it comes to putting the odds in your favor. Now, this is going to probably pertain more to the Midwest hunter or the guy east of there. So, the Northeast, the East Coast, down the South, Southeast, all you guys. That's who this is probably going to pertain to the most, although I'm sure there's definitely going to be some good nuggets that even new Western hunters that actually live out west will be able to glean from this as well. So we're just going to kind of jump into it here. So stacking the elk hunting odds in our favor. Now, we all know as traveling elk hunters, the odds are definitely stacked against us. If you spent any time at all looking at success rates for any of the given units in any of the given states, you're going to see that the success rate is really low for most tags, most opportunities that are available. Somebody that's got a lot of points, that's hunting a trophy unit, something that takes, many, many years to draw, obviously the success rates can definitely be higher there. But this is geared for the new Western hunter that's really, trying to get this figured out. Now, when we're looking at these success rates, a lot of them are in the 10% or lower range, right? Obviously there's some that could be higher or lower. I'm just talking generally here. But when we're looking at these, we're just going to use that 10% mark. I think it's just a good round number. It's easy to do math on, easy for my simple-minded brain here. So going off of that 10% success rate mark, there's some factors that we also need to take into consideration when we're looking at that actual 10% success rate. Now, that success rate is not just based on the new Western hunter. It's not just based on the non-resident traveling elk hunter. It is based on the entire harvest survey. So some states do it different. Some have mandatory surveying that has to be done. Some is random. So, all this information, we have to take it all with a grain of salt. What we're reading, what we're looking into, you got to know which state you're looking at and how they do it. A lot of it's not going to be exact numbers anyways. But that 10%, right? That is every single hunter. That is every single tag that is either drawn or purchased, and that is every animal harvested that is reported on. So again, depending on how they do the reporting is going to depend, on how, exactly accurate those numbers are. But that's across the board. That's the non-resident, the resident, the guided, the unguided, all across the board, the private land, the public land, everything is all thrown into one pot, and that's how they get their success rate. So as you can imagine, even looking at that 10% success rate, you just as well figure, especially if you're new, maybe you've never done this before at all, or, maybe you've done it a couple times, you already know how difficult it can be. The odds are definitely stacked against us. But don't let that deter you. There's absolutely no reason to let that deter you, because there's absolutely no reason you cannot get into that 10% success rate. So sticking with the percents, I've heard it said that 90% of the elk are killed by 10% of the hunters. And most of the time, it's these guys that are consistent year over year over year. So if 90% of the elk are killed by 10% of the hunters, what does that tell us? Well, the first thing it tells me is I want to be doing what those 10% are doing and not what the 90% are doing. I want to put myself in that 10% range. I want to be part of that 10% that's killing elk every year, just like you do. So that's the purpose of this series of videos that I'm going to put out. That's what I want to address. I want to go down through all of the things that we can do, especially as non-resident traveling hunters, especially as new hunters. I want to go down through all the things that we can do to stack as many odds as we can in our favor, because that's about the only way we can look at this. Is we have to look at it as an odds game, because there's always a little bit of luck that plays into it. There's no guarantees when it comes to hunting. There's no one set thing that we can do that's going to guarantee us success. It all works off of percentages. It all works off of chance, and it all works off of making enough right decisions to put ourselves in the best opportunity that we can be in. That way, when the opportunity presents itself, we're ready to capitalize. So we're going to go through and we're going to look at the things that we can do that are actually going to move the needle. Because I deal with a lot of new Western hunters. I spend a lot of time talking with new Western hunters and helping new Western hunters figure things out. Through my experience, most Western hunters are not scared of putting in the work. They're not scared of putting in the effort. They just don't know what that is. And a lot of guys that I do talk to, they're all doing a lot of things to try to prepare themselves, to try to get ready. They're doing all these things that they think they need to do. And unfortunately, a lot of the things that they think they need to do are things that don't actually move the needle, or at least don't move it very far. And they're skipping over some of the things that they could actually be doing that's going to actually put a visible movement in that needle. So let's jump into it. Now, before we start going down through everything, I want you to keep in mind that this is going to be a series. So I'm going to break this down into a few different videos. That way we don't try to cram it all into one. You can take it, you can digest it, you can chew on it, and then you'll be ready for when the next one comes out. So as we go down through this list, I'm gonna move down through the list, kind of fast, and just kind of hit a little bit on each one just to kind of prime this up. I'm going to make a video about these topics, individually, so we can get a little bit more into detail about them and go from there. So I just want to point that out before we get going down through here and you're like, hey, I need some more out of this or that. So this is a series, and we're going to make some more videos on this. Okay, so the first thing on the list, putting the best possible tag you can in your pocket. That's the first thing you can do to start stacking the odds in your favor. Now, I know that may sound a little elementary, and I know you're probably thinking, well, if I don't have any points anywhere, I've never applied anywhere, how am I going to do that? And we're going to get into this a little bit deeper. Like I said, this is a series. We're going to break all these down a whole lot further than what we're going to in this particular video. But that first thing, putting the best possible tag in your pocket. That's the first thing you can do. And again, it doesn't matter if you have points or if you don't have points. That's not the point that I'm getting at here. I'm not saying that you can't do anything until you stack a bunch of points to draw better tags. That's not where that lesson is going to go. And when we get into it, when I make the video for that one, you're going to understand more about what I'm saying, is why that is the first thing, and quite possibly one of the most important things that you can do. Pardon the interruption. I just wanted to take a moment and let you know what we've got going on over at Western Hunter 101. With season only a couple of months away, from now through the end of August, we are going to run what we're calling our summer camp special, where we're going to take 50% off the full send. That's right, 50% off for the first 40 guys that want to sign up. I talk with a lot of new hunters, and budget is one of the big concerns. So we want to do our part and be able to help as many guys as we can put that notch in that first elk tag. So if you're brand new to Western hunting, if you're overwhelmed and you have no idea where to start, head over to Western Hunter 101 through the link in the description. And when you sign up, use promo code SUMMERCAMP and save 50% off of your membership. Next, taking the right gear. So we're going to get into gear. We're going to talk about it. There's so much discussion about gear online with all the different social media platforms, all the groups. There's always discussion about gear. There's always lots of opinions out there about what you should and shouldn't take, what you should and shouldn't spend your money on. That can be really overwhelming to a new hunter trying to digest all that especially if you're starting from scratch. Even if you're an adult onset hunter, maybe you've never hunted at all and you're trying to gather all this stuff up, and the price tag on some of that stuff is pretty eye-opening. So we're going to get into gear, and we're going to talk about the gear that you actually need. We're not going to talk about specific brands. I'm not going to tell you if you cannot afford something, you should stay home. That's not what that gear discussion is going to be at all. We're going to break down what gear that you do actually need. We're going to talk about budget-friendly gear. We're going to talk about gear that actually moves the needle for you. So stay tuned for that one. That's going to be a good one. Next thing on the list that we're going to talk about for stacking the elk hunting odds in your favor is going to be e-scouting. Now, I know there's a lot of naysayers out there that have a lot of negative things to say about e-scouting, and they compare it to boots on the ground and how there's no replacement for that. And, we're not going to get into that debate necessarily. A lot of times those are guys that actually live out west. I think sometimes it's hard for them to understand what it is like for us that are traveling, possibly thousands of miles to get actually to elk country. E-scouting plays a huge role in that. And we're going to talk about the things in e-scouting that, again, are going to actually move the needle for you. Because it's not like you can just put a spot on a map and, go through everything that we talk about and guarantee that there's going to be animals there. Obviously, you cannot do that. But we're going to talk about what parts of that do actually make a difference, kind of where you should start as far as, depending on the type of tag that you got. And again, we're talking about new guys here, mostly guys with 0 points. These are going to be guys that are hunting tags that, they were able to draw with 0 points, or tags that they bought over the counter. And you're going to hunt those a little bit differently. You're going to scout those maybe a little bit differently, as far as e-scouting goes, compared to, a lot of the information that is currently out there. There's definitely some things that you should put your weight in more so than others. So we're going to discuss all that in that video. The next topic that we're going to get into, physical fitness and mental toughness. Those are two major things that are going to play a huge effect on your hunt and your ability to find success. Obviously, again, there's no guarantee. This is a topic that really needs to be focused on. It's not necessarily a fun one. For some, it may even be a painful one, but this is one of those that's going to really help you stack the odds in your favor, because with a lot of this other stuff, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what tag you got, doesn't matter what gear you've got. If you can't get where you need to be and you can't mentally stay in the game, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, you can have all the most elite whatever. That is a major proponent to stacking the odds in your favor. The next thing that we're going to get into is building confidence and efficiency. This is going to cover a fairly wide range of topics that are going to fall into that particular category. But when you can build the confidence in a multitude of different aspects involving your hunt, I don't want to go too into detail here because I don't want to give a lot of it away, before the video comes out. So I'm kind of trying to pick and choose my words here a little bit. But when you can build confidence in your gear, when you can build confidence in your ability of being out there and over just a wide range of skills, when you can build that confidence in that, not only in your gear and your abilities, and even in your weapon and your practice at home with your weapon and how you go about that. When you can build that confidence, it's going to put you in the right situations, and you're going to be able to capitalize on those situations without second guessing, without constantly questioning yourself. When you've got the confidence that you can do it, and when the pressure's on and you're actually able to capitalize, that's going to make a huge difference. And along with that is the efficiency. When you understand how to plan the hunt, how to pack your gear, knowing your gear, being efficient with your gear and your food, that's going to put you in better situations. So we're going to get into that. That's going to cover a wide range of things. Everything from using public land, meat care in the field. I see a lot of times guys, like we'll just say, for example, archery hunting elk. When you've got that confidence that you can take care of that animal and that you know what to do, that's going to be able to put you in the right places. Not to make it sound like I'm going to make you overly confident so you end up in a place that you shouldn't be, where you're not going to be able to take care of that animal, but you're going to understand what you can and can't do. So that's going to be a big, big one for helping you stack the odds in your favor and putting yourself in the right situations. And lastly, we're going to get into doing what the 10% do, not what the 90% do. So we're going to talk about all of the media out there that is putting out stuff for hunters. I mean, when you search anything, whether it be on YouTube or whatever, when you search stuff, you're going to find a lot of information. There's just an overload of information out there. And a lot of it is just mirroring the next and mirroring the last. It's a lot of the same information being spit out over and over and over again. They might be saying it a little bit different way, but a lot of times, it's the same kind of thing. So when you figure that everybody is getting fed that same ration of information over and over and over again, that's why 90% of guys are doing what 90% of guys are doing. And that's why the other 10% are killing 90% of the elk. So we're going to talk about some things that you can do that the 10% are doing and stay away from what the 90% are doing to set yourself apart and give you an edge. So if you're new to Western hunting, if you're overwhelmed and you don't know where to start, keep an eye out for these upcoming videos in this series. I originally planned to post them once a week, but we are getting awfully close to season, and I don't think I can spread them out that far because we'll be into season at that point, and I want to get this to you guys before season actually starts. So we're going to pump these videos out a little bit faster than weekly. I'm not saying they're going to be every day, but I'm going to try to keep a steady flow of them coming to you. So if you're overwhelmed and you don't know where to start, this would be a great place to get started. And then if you want to look any further into it, by all means, I'd be glad to help you with that. If you're new to Western hunting, if you're overwhelmed and you really don't know where to start, you're in the right place. This series of videos is going to absolutely help you get started. But if you don't want to wait for all these videos to drop, if you're ready to get started right now, you can go to Western Hunter 101 and sign up to join our Full Send Brotherhood, where you're going to get everything that we're going to cover in this series of videos with even more detail, along with having the Brotherhood, where you are going to be able to get all of the personal support that you need along the way. In the Full Send Brotherhood, we've got a wide variety of experience levels, and we've got guys from South Dakota to Florida, New York to Texas, and everywhere in between. So not only is it a great place to get all the personal support that you need, it's also a great place to find hunting partners and be able to freely ask any questions that you have without the fear of ridicule, because everybody in there has literally been exactly where you're standing right now. So go check out Western Hunter 101. If you're tired of filtering through all the massive amount of information out there and you just want a clear path going forward and be able to spend time with a great group of guys that genuinely cares about helping you, then you have finally found your spot. If you got any value out of this video, I ask that you like the video, head over and subscribe. That really helps the algorithm and helps to put these videos in front of the guys that are actively seeking this information out and really wanting to up their game and really wanting to put as many odds as they can in their favor before this upcoming hunting season.